Okay, thank you for joining me today. My name is Martin Connor. I'm going to be taking you through the benefits of planning an MRP in Cim50 manufacturing. Okay, this will be recorded and will be shared on our YouTube channel, along with a number of other webinars that we've created over the last few months or so, and we will be continuing to do these into the future. Please feel free to make a note of my contact details and the cim50.co.uk website, where you'll find brochures, feature guides, and case studies for our Cim50 manufacturing solution. So a little bit of an agenda then. Thought I'd start with a couple of slides just to set the scene. First of all, what is MRP? Okay, if you're new to MRP, what is it? The Cim50 modules and how the planning module fits into that, and a little bit of an overview of what our planning module is trying to achieve. Then we'll drop into the planning features. I will be focusing on the planning module within the Cim50 solution and will be referring to other modules, but please feel free to have a look at and catch up with those on our YouTube channel if you wanted a sort of a more in-depth deep dive into those modules. And then next steps, and if there's any questions, if you're live, then I'd be happy to answer those. So please feel free to drop them into the chat or the Q&A. So what is MRP then? MRP stands for Materials Requirements Planning. Okay, and it basically ensures that we've got the materials, the stock available for production. Okay, so that we can deliver against our customers' orders whilst maintaining the stock efficiently. Okay, it is a rule-based system driven by demands generally. Okay, those demands could be from orders from your customers, from the rules that you set up within a stock control system. Okay, to plan your production and purchasing. It generally reduces stock. Okay, and shortages is generally a just-in-time solution. Okay, and helps you to become more cost-effective and efficient. So hopefully not building stock. Yes, you do get those horror stories of, oh yeah, MRP build stock and things like that. But generally that comes down to how you set up the system. Okay, or any system, and that's not unique to Cim50. Okay, I've been involved with a number of manufacturing solutions over the years, and generally it's the same. If you set the rules incorrectly, then you will get incorrect results. So Cim50 then, and where does the planning module fit in? So as I say, we have got more webinars on the various modules and the functionality within them. Okay, but we're focusing on the planning module today. Okay, and the planning module will read data from stock control. Okay, bills and materials, the recipes, how do I manufacture my items? Okay, components and operations, the works orders for managing the production. Okay, so planning will read works orders because there's nothing to stop you popping a works order onto the system. It won't generally interact with the rest of these modules, but quotations could create works orders, could create bills materials. And as I say, we've got further webinars for some of the other modules here. So shop floor data capture and barcoding. Okay, and a graphical scheduler for a visualization of your production across the shop floor with drag and drop capability. So we've got a complete solution there. So more on the planning module then, and what are the benefits and features for the Cim50 planning module. Okay, so we follow basically what MRP is about. We ensure that demands are met from across Sage 50, so fully integrated with Sage 50 accounts, sales orders. And those demands could be sales, as I said, from Sage. It could be sales forecasts within Cim50, so we can feed in a forecast into Cim50. Maybe something that's seasonal that you want to make sure that you've got sufficient stock for when those orders arrive, and the system can net off sales orders for you against that forecast. Works orders. So as I said, you may put a works order onto the system. Reorder levels. So this is the planning MRP system will maintain reorder levels for you. So you say, I would like to keep 100 of these in stock at any one time. So that would be like a false ceiling for them, or a basement, sort of a false zero. So the system would always look to maintain the reorder levels. So again, it's about thinking about those values and what is right for the business, because you don't want to be carrying too much stock. We've also got make to stock, so finger in the air. I want to make some because I know best, and I may know that there's a you know a significant order coming in. We want to get ahead of the game. The Cim50 manufacturing solution helps you to track shortages and replenishments. It takes into account replenishments. Okay, so taking into account stock that we've got in hand, purchase orders that are outstanding, works orders that are outstanding, okay, and ensures that it comes up with the recommendations based on the demands and the current replenishments that are out there. Of course, if a purchase order is not coming in on time, or there's not sufficient quantity on that purchase order to fulfill that demand, then the planning module will make a recommendation to buy more. Okay, it helps you to a business to improve cash flow. Okay, because it is rule based. Okay, you can set those rules, as I've mentioned, setting reorder levels correct. You can set reorder quantities. So when I manufacture or when I buy an item, okay, how many do I typically make? How many do I typically buy? How do I want to batch them together? Okay, and quite often what we find is that a lot of this information is held in spreadsheets or people's heads, and it's about mind dumping that and getting that into Cim50 to set those rules so it can make the best decisions possible for you. Okay, and as well as the sort of batch quantities, reorder quantities and reorder levels, we've also got lead times for items that you manufacture, okay, by supplier. And we've got multiple suppliers, as you may have already seen in some of the other webinars. From a manufacturing point of view, it will tell you what we need, when we need to make it. Okay, and that will be based on the bills of materials and the operations on the bills of materials. So as well as the operations on the bills of materials serving a purpose for costings, if you've seen my costing webinar, okay, it will also be used for the time that it takes to manufacture the item. It will also get used, those operations will also get used in works orders to provide the shop floor paperwork. It will also get used for the shop floor data capture module for capturing actual labor times. So it's a single input that gets used in multiple areas across the system. But for the planning module, it uses the times from the operations to calculate how long it would take to manufacture the quantity that the system is recommending. Okay, to calculate a start and an end date. Okay, for an item that we need to manufacture, or and based on the demands. Okay, we can also build in rules for do we group things together for a working week or X number of days or a month, that sort of thing, because we don't want to be placing orders, 2 orders this week on Monday and Friday. We want to group them together, okay, because we want to save on carriage charges and the likes. Okay, and this is all fully integrated, okay, across the Cim50 and the Sage 50 accounts, okay, to provide that complete solution. Okay, so what I'm now going to do is I'm going to move on to a demonstration of the planning module. I'm not going to dwell on too much on the other modules. I'm going to focus sort of on the planning module, maybe dip into stock control so you can start to see where some of that data is set up, okay, that the planning module uses. Okay, so here we are in Cim50. And we've got the modules down the left-hand side. If you're familiar with the setup, this is our home screen. I'm going to focus on the planning module. And when I go into the planning module, okay, we can move to the demand schedule. So here we are at the demand schedule. I've not got any data in there at the moment. Okay, so what going to do is I'm going to read the demand. One thing is worth pointing out here that this process can be automated as well as running MRP. Okay, so if we wanted to run this at 6 o'clock in the morning, so it's ready for us for when we come in at 7 o'clock, then we can do so. Okay, or 2 o'clock in the morning, entirely up to you. Okay. So, but I'm going to do this longhand and I'm going to do it in sort of slow time. So I'm looking 6 months into the future. So we well into the autumn, 6 months into the future, that's a default. I'm going to look at all demands. Okay, but you can see here that we can look at sales orders from Sage, reorder levels from stock control. Okay, make to stock, that's that finger in the air. I want to make some because I know best, over and above anything else that's going on. Works orders, because I could go and enter a works ordering system, because I know best. And sales forecasts. Okay, so that might be a seasonal forecast. It may be a forecast that your customer provides you with. Okay, and they say, yeah, this is what we think, but we'll send you the sales orders when we firm that up. But they may not send you the sales orders in good time so that you can't react. So you're taking a punt and forecasting that, so that can be included within the planning and MRP. So send that off and running, and what we can see, it's found 7 sales orders, 1 make to stock, some sales forecast lines, some reorder levels that are stocked below the reorder levels, and some works order components. A number of them have been included, some have been excluded. Okay, so if I close out of that, we can see that we've got some works orders, some sales orders from Sage. So some of these sales orders have got multiple lines. Okay, you can see here that I've got my sales forecast, which is a seasonal forecast for a couple of items there by the looks of it. Okay, moving into the future. And then I've got some items which have fallen below their reorder levels. So I've set a reorder level and the stock has fallen below that. So the system has found that. Okay. What is worth pointing out here as well is I've mentioned works orders, but it's if you were a company that maybe just buy and sell items and need this functionality, it works absolutely fine with just the Cim50 stock control and planning modules reading the sales orders from Sage. So you don't necessarily have to have bills, materials and works orders to use the planning module. So this is the list which have been included. If I go to exclusions, we can see that there's some items which have been excluded. So they've either been fulfilled, so they've been issued or allocated to a works order, so it's been taken care of. But I might be thinking, where's that timber pine? Yeah, I can see why. Okay, there's some items which are non-stock item. We've got some forecasts which are in the past. We've got some forecast items which are beyond the 22nd of November, and we've got a make to stock item which hasn't been released. So we've got full visibility of what's been included, what's been excluded. And if I go back to my included list, what I can do is I can sort that by demand date, and if there was any which were in the past, then what I might want to do is go and correct that data. So it might be that we've got an overdue sales order or something like that. We go, well, if it's for the 30th of April, then why is it still appearing here? There must be a reason. Let's go and correct that and set the due date on the sales order to when we do expect to deliver that. Okay, so it's easy to to spot that. If I'm happy with that list, okay, I can then move on to the MRP. Okay, we do have the ability, and I'm not going to go into it in too much depth today, but you can link items together. So what we can do is you can hard link sales orders. Okay, so it'll do a one-to-one relationship. Generally, what MRP solutions do, and Cim50 is no different, is that they run in a batch environment where what they will do is it will try and group items together where it can, okay, and offset those against replenishment, so free stock, current orders, recommendations. For example, if we had you know some items which were some oat desks, if you like, due in the middle of the month and some due at the end of the month, okay, it was 50 of each, okay, the reorder quantity is set to 100, okay, we make some for the middle of the month, that 100 will then get taken care, will take care of the 50 at the end of the month, and so we won't get a recommendation for the end of the month. We're just going to make the 100 in the middle of the month because it's a batch of 100 which will fulfill both demands. Okay, but what we can do is we can detach that and we can say actually we do want to make them in separate batches, we want to keep them unique, so we can do that. So if I move to the MRP, the last time that I run the MRP, this is what it found, but I'm just going to run it now. So again, I'm going to look at 6 months to the future. I'm going to aggregate demand. So that's that Monday, Friday thing. So I want to group things together by X number of days. I want to look at all replenishments. So outstanding purchase orders, outstanding works orders, free stock and quarantine. So if you've got items in quarantine and stock control, we want to include those in replenishment or not. And you can obviously switch those on and off. Okay, wouldn't be much of a system if it didn't look at these as replenishments. And then we've got target items. So we can either look at all items, or it might be that we want to look at specific stock items. I might want to search for maybe a specific stock category, that sort of thing, or specific sales orders. It might be that I've got a, a blue chip company that we want to be working with, or one of our longest standing customers that is important to us, or they may be spares orders or something like that we want to just deal with in a completely different way. You can be selective by sales order. However, if any of the sales orders which have been excluded from this list had an item the same as ones that have been included, it will get included by default because we want to rob Peter to pay Paul. So I'm going to look at all items so I see the complete picture. Okay, and off it goes and starts to do its calculation. So it's running through the rules, the stock, the replenishments, and all of that good stuff for us, and comes up with a list of recommendations. And that is the key word here. These are recommendations. And if I sort it by type, okay, we've got items that we need to manufacture. Okay, and sort it the other way, and items that we need to purchase. Okay, we've got dates up here. So we've got a date of when the demand is for, so the 30th. Okay, we've then got an order date, so I need to be ordering this today. Okay, and it's going to be coming in on the 30th. Okay, so I don't know if it picks up very well, but we have got some color coding in here, and this one is in purple, okay, because that means that it's at risk. So it's going to come in on the day that it's needed, okay. Whereas the one below, we need it for the 26th of August. If we ordered it on the 2nd of August, it's going to come in on the 25th of August. So it's going to come in the day before we actually need it, okay. So that's in black. We've then got items which are like recommendations which are in red. We need it today. If we order it today, we're not going to get it until the 27th. Okay. However, this is for a reorder level. Okay. So because it's for a reorder level, then there's a good chance that we've got enough stock to cover ourselves until the 27th. Okay, if I action that recommendation, next time I run MRP, the system will be quite happy with it because it will be saying that there's an item coming in within its lead time. Okay, that was always a bit of a hole with Sage 50 manufacturing. It would just keep telling you to reorder. Okay, whereas Cim50 doesn't do that. So I mentioned there the parent tag, so I could see that this is for a reorder quantity. Okay, so if I sort this by parent tag, okay, we can see by sales orders, okay, what recommendations I need to action. Okay, so for sales order number 7, there's 3 recommendations that I need to action. So there's the teak desk, which is I know is the finished item that we need to manufacture. There's some drawer sets that go into the teak desk, and there's some locks which go into the drawer sets. So even at the lowest level in the bill of material, it's still telling me that it's for sales order number 7. Again, great visibility of what we need to make and what we need to purchase, okay, for a sales order. The eagle-eyed of you may have noticed that there is tags that say multiple, and there's the sales order number 7, sales order number 16, and works order number 10. So it's telling us that we need to buy this tube for those 3 demands. Okay, and that's why it says multiple. Okay, but it's still detailing why we're buying that. And again, the tube is quite far down in my bill of material. So if I resort that again and just show you what we can do from here. So if I go into my locks, okay, I can if I want to. I'm in control. Okay, so if I look at this by lock, you can see that we've got a number of recommendations for the locks. Okay, I've got the ability if I want to combine recommendations. So again, I'm in control. I could say, actually, they're quite close together. I'm going to combine those. I want to bring them in one go. Okay. I have the ability, if I want to split recommendations. Again, I could say, well, actually, I'm going to get 50 from one supplier, 50 from another supplier. Entirely up to you. You can change the quantities, you can change the dates, okay? You can also change the supplier. So if I came in here, I could choose alternative suppliers if I've got them set up against that particular stock item or one of my choosing really. Okay. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to action those 2 recommendations and it will create a purchase order with 2 lines because I haven't combined them together. I'm going to just do it for these recommendations, but what I do have the ability is to action multiple recommendations for the same demand all together with the descendants. And there you can see that we now have a purchase order number. Okay, and if I now move across to Sage, so over in Sage, didn't need to have Sage open, does all of this in the background. If I go to purchase orders, we can see that we now have a purchase order in Sage, okay, for the 2 lines for locks and 3rd of June and the 10th of June. Okay, because I didn't combine those 2 together. That behaves now as a normal purchase order. We can print it, email it, do whatever we needed to do. You may have noticed that it's come across as on order. I don't have to have it coming across as on order. I've just got it set that way. That is a setting. That's a system setting that you can set. Okay, so you could have it coming across as not on order and then somebody has to place it on order. So a little sort of a bit of a level of authorization, if you like. And again, as I say, don't need to have Sage open. Back in Cim50 then. Let me just clear that. On the other side of the coin, if we pick this item here, we can see that it's a manufacture. Okay, it doesn't have a supplier because it's an item that we manufacture. It doesn't have a lead time, so the purchase item, we can see the lead time. You can sort, you can filter, within here, so you set your workspace up. You might be use fields like barcodes, so certain people are responsible for certain products, that sort of thing. Okay, we've also got the ability to see what's been excluded. Okay, because it may be that there's some replenishments that we weren't aware of. Okay, it's telling us that this item is non-stock, those sorts of things. So if we're looking for an item, it's a good place to look is within the exclusions. Okay, we can look at the replenishments, which replenishments have been used. So which particular purchase orders have been used. Okay, which recommendations have been used, those sorts of things. Okay, so it's all at our fingertips. And there is also behind the scenes a sort of a complete audit log of each MRP run. So for our items that we need to manufacture, I can just pick any one of these. So just these mahogany desks. If I go and process that, I'm going to action that. So again, I can amend, I can change the quantities, all of that good stuff. Okay, what it has done, you can see here that we need 25, but it's taken into account the reorder quantity from the stock item. So I'm going to process that and action that. Just that one recommendation, and then we get a works order. So if I move across to works orders, there's my works orders, and that will behave as a works order now. So you can print the paperwork and process that works order. And if I look at that works order and I look at the links, we can see that it's tagged or linked to sales order number 12. Okay, we could make that a firm link if we wanted to. MRP will revisit those links every time you run it. So that's sort of the processing. If I just move back to the planning, just so you can see it, we've got that make to stock item which hasn't been released. Okay, I know best. It's a bit old as well, so it's a bit in the past. If I look at the sales forecast, we can see that we've got a sales forecast on here, so we can see that it's for this year is our seasonal forecasts for some items, and I've put it on monthly. Okay, you can see that it sort of fluctuates through the year. Over the summer, we don't sell so many desks because of the school holidays or something like that. Okay, and then it all gets rather busy after the summer. That's what normally happens. So we're in May, we can get ahead of the game and start to take that into account. If I move back to stock control and just pick one of these items here that were working with, I know that we've got some data on, and I go to the MRP tab, we can see here that we've got our reorder quantity, our reorder level. Okay, all will get taken into account by the MRP. Ordering methods, so we do have ordering methods, so this is set to use the reorder quantity. PQ, it will ignore the reorder quantity. MRQ, it will do multiples of the reorder quantity, so 20, 40, 60, 80. And RQ plus order multiple, it might be that I want to purchase 20 to start with, but then go in 5. So you go 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. Okay, so you can set those rules. Here we've got our aggregation. So I'm saying that group stuff demands together for a 5-day window. We can say calendar week or calendar month if we wanted to. We can ask the system to recommend rescheduling or not. So it might be that we've got items which may be, transported across from the Middle East or something like that, that we can't reschedule, but a friendly supplier down the road, which we've got a good relationship with, we can pick up the phone and reschedule. And we've also got the ability to exclude items from the MRP altogether. It might be the stationery cupboard items. You don't want those crowding out the planning and MRP module, because we just want to reserve it for the manufacturing side of things. And we can also say whether the item is batched together or jobbing, where we look at them in isolation. Okay, so that's some of the rules. If I go to the suppliers, as I said, we can have multiple suppliers. So the planning module will use the preferred for the recommendation. Okay. It will use the lead time. Okay. Minimum order quantities, order multiples, and cost prices that you set up within here. Okay. But when we come to action a recommendation, we can choose one of the alternative suppliers or any for that matter. Okay, so that's some of the setup within the stock items. And if I pop across to the bills materials and I go into a bill of material, what the system is going to use for the timings of manufacturing recommendation within the planner module is it's going to use the times that you assign to operations. Okay, based on the quantity. So for this, if we made 600 desks, it's going to allow an hour for that operation, 15 minutes for 20 of those. So it will multiply that up by the quantity, okay, to arrive at a start and end time, proposed start and end time for the recommendation or raising of order and receipt date, all calculated back from the demand date. Okay, so that's where it gets the timings from. And as I said, it gets used for costings, it gets used for the shop floor paperwork, it gets used for the shop floor data capture, for barcoding, and also the graphical scheduler. So enter it once, gets used in multiple areas across the software. Okay, so that concludes today's webinar. Thank you for joining me. I hope you found that useful, and if you have any questions and you're on here live, please feel free to pop them in the chat and I will look to answer them. In the meantime, if you want any help with utilizing the Cim50 planning and MRP module and features, please reach out to us and we can look to assist accordingly. If you're supported by one of our partners, we can, of course, pass you back to them and make them aware of your inquiry. But also, if you need any further details, if this is completely new to you, please feel free to go off to cim50.co.uk where you'll see brochures, feature guides and case studies. Thank you very much.